A few months ago I decided that I was going to get back into digital photography. A long time ago when I was 21, my father gave me a Rolleiflex 35mm single lens reflex camera, and I absolutely loved taking photographs with that, but it was prohibitively expensive because it cost so much to get the photographs developed. So I've been taking photographs around the house and outside for many years, and I've just been using a compact digital camera. But we've got a lot of wildlife in the garden and a small camera just doesn't really cut the mustard. So I contacted a good friend of mine who is a very good photographer and asked his advice about which camera to go for just to get started with again. He suggested I go for the Nikon D3400, and I'm very pleased that I got this. I'm really pleased with the camera. This arrived with a stock 18 to 55mm lens, and I started taking quite a few photographs with this lens, but it soon became apparent to me that I needed to go a little bit bigger. I'm fortunate enough to have this as a garden, and we're constantly getting wildlife around. The standard lens that comes with the camera is just not good enough for telephoto work, and a lot of the stuff that I've been taking photographs with I need to get close to. As well as that, we've got tremendous views out over the countryside. And basically I just wanted a telephoto lens. So I made the decision that I was going to buy a Nikon lens. I wasn't going to buy a Tamron or another cheaper lens. For me it was a choice between two lenses, the 55 to 300mm and the 70 to 300mm telephoto lens. Now, because my stock lens was an 18 to 55mm, the 55 to 300mm would allow me to go right across from 18 to 300mm with no gap in between. Rightly or wrongly, that was the decision that I based it on. So the lens comes with a lens cover, protective cover there for the bayonet fitting. It also comes with a HB57 lens hood. It comes with a protective bag, which I've misplaced somewhere and I don't know where it is because it's something that I'll never use, but it is a nice little protective bag and a set of instructions. So let's just look at the nameplate. It's an AFS Nikon 55-300mm 4.5 to 5.6 GED, and it's a Nikon DX lens. You can set it up for autofocus or manual focus, and it's also got a switch to allow you to turn the VR on or off. The VR is VR2, it's not VR Series 1, it's Series 2, and it is very effective. So that is a camera with the 18 to 55mm lens fitted. That's with the 55 to 300, and if I extend the lens, that's it with the lens extended. Now if I put the hood on, that's the sort of size it is. Now when I first got this camera I never used the lens hood, and that was a big mistake because all my photographs were looking quite washed out, and it was only when I looked online and found out that if you put a lens hood on then it gets rid of a lot of that washed out look, and it's made a major difference to the photographs that I'm taking with this camera. So now I'm going to take the camera outside and mount it on a tripod, and then I'm going to show both lenses, the 18 to 55mm stock lens and the 55 to 300mm telephoto lens. What I will do is I'll record video with those lenses on and I'll show you the different magnifications, starting off with the stock lens and then finishing with the 55 to 300. So this is the stock 18 to 55mm lens, and this is at 18mm, and I'm just going to take it up to 55mm now. That's 55mm. So this is a 55 to 300mm lens. It's set at 55mm, and we're looking at a radio mast in the distance. That's 70mm. Take it up to 100. That's 100. $200mm. And that's it on maximum zoom at 300. This is a stock lens and it's set at 18mm. This is it at 55mm. The telephoto lens at 55, 70, 100, 200 and 300mm. So as I said earlier, this lens is a VR lens. It is in actual fact a VR2 lens, which means it goes one further stop. So VR I think works to 3 stops and VR2 works to 4 stops, so it is slightly better. Now I wanted to demonstrate how good that is, so last night when it was dusk I came out and took some photographs. But you can easily see how effective VR2 is when you're holding this camera by hand and using a slow shutter speed in low light conditions. Vibration reduction on, vibration reduction off. So next I want to talk about focus on the lens. Now at the moment it's on autofocus, but I've placed it on manual focus and wound the focus right out of the way. So when I focus this lens I don't need to look through the lens to focus it. As you can see, from fully out of focus to being focused is very, very quick. It's very quiet and very smooth. Now one thing to mention is this is a focus ring here. If you listen and look, there is a little bit of play in there and that will throw it out of focus, so you need to be careful where you place your fingers when you're using the camera. Now manual focus, obviously you don't really need me to explain that. That's really very slack and it's a little bit hit and miss. It's quite possible to focus it manually and it's quite possible to get a good focus, but it's so fine a point, it's very, very easy to go through focus and out of focus just in a little fraction of a turn of the ring, so you need to be careful when you're manually focusing it. Now when I first started using this camera I had everything set to auto, so it was in auto mode and the focusing mode on the camera was set for area focus, and I had all sorts of problems with that. The only way I could find to take it out of area focus was to put it into manual, and the manual mode I decided to use was aperture. So I set it up to A on the dial and then just use this little button at the back to change the aperture of the camera, and then I placed it on single point focus and selected the center spot, and since then focusing's been quite a bit better, so I'm a lot happier with it than I was when I first got the camera. It will take macro type photographs. The best way to do that is to put it on full zoom on the lens, approach the subject and then make sure it's in focus and keep focusing it as you move forward. As it starts going out of focus then you need to move back slightly, get it back in focus, and that is where you take the photograph. And remember to always use this lens hood because it makes a real difference unless you want flare on your camera. I've found that the photographs that I've been taking have been much better since I put the hood on, so that's definitely worth remembering. So that's it, the 55 to 300mm lens. I am so glad that I bought it. It's given me way more options now with photographs. I can take much better photographs. I've actually got some cracking photographs with this lens and I'll show you some of these now. So this is the first thing that I bought after I bought the camera. I waited about a month before I bought it, and I think it is a very worthwhile investment. It's a smashing lens. It opens up so many possibilities for you in photography, and for the price I think it was well worth the money. So I hope you found this review useful, and thank you for watching.